So our second speaker before lunch is Alia of the British Library, who is here to talk about a major programme to digitise the vast wealth of Indian printed books held by the library, and an exciting collaboration with partner institutions in India to share knowledge and skills and stimulate digital scholarship. The British Library is unlocking 19th century material that ranges from one of the very first Bengali cookbooks, that really interests me, to one of the earliest translations of Shakespeare's plays in Bengal. So I think a fascinating project and dying to hear more.
Thank you. So I'm Alia Carter. I'm the project manager for the 2 Centuries of Indian Print project, which is started in April 2016 and is going on for 2 years till April 2018. Just a little bit background about the British Library's collections. It's the world's largest collection of early printed Indian books. They're in 22 South Asian languages, including Sanskrit, Prakrit, Pali, Hindi, Bengali, Gujarati, there's a list there, and numerous minor languages. The earliest imprints are in Tamil in South India, which is 1713, and Bengali in the north, 1778. And the reason we've got, so there's some history about the British Library there. The collections date back from 1753 and they've greatly expanded in the 19th century. The India Office Library was created in 1858 and was the successor of the East India Company Library, which was created in 1801. After the Press and Registrations of Books Act in 1867, from 1868, both the British Museum Library and India Office Library were the colonial legal deposit libraries for publications from the subcontinent. So that's why the British Library has got this vast amount of early printed material. And then in 1973, the British Museum Oriental Printed Book and Manuscripts Collection and the India Office became combined as a British Library. And this is a picture of the British Library reading rooms, which are accessible for public and researchers alike. So the idea for 2 Centuries of Indian Print, the wider ambition was to digitise all British Library's South Asian language printed book collection from 1713 to 1914. And this was announced in November 2015, and this was made possible from funding by Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy and the AHRC, the Newton Fund. So the entire project would be about circa 140,000 titles, and some of the money that we were given as funding was to do some research on the books themselves, but also digital curation behind them. So what we started was the pilot phase of 2 Centuries of Indian Print, which is the 2-year pilot that I mentioned, to digitise and make available 4,000 early printed Bengali books, 1,000 of which are uniquely held by the British Library, and they can only be explored by researchers visiting the library. So we're hoping to digitise those. And 100 of those are at the SOAS Library, so we're working in collaboration with them. We've also decided that with that money we can digitise 3,000 more, so we're hopefully going to put those together and digitise them as well. A complementary project that we've done is the quarterly lists, which are English language catalogues recording bibliographic delials of all books published in India between 1867 through to the late 1960s, and they'll be available on our British Library Lab site soon. We're going to upload PDFs so that they're searchable PDFs so people can search them. This September, we also received another smaller fund from the Newton Fund, which we're using to digitise the South Asian Vernacular Tract series, which are around about 6,000 vernacular tracts, small publications, including pamphlets, that are bound together into volumes, and they cover a wide range of South Asian languages and subjects. They're rare and fragile, and they've been bound together, so they're in a lot of demand by the researchers in South Asia. And the picture there that you can see is from the Tales from Shakespeare by Charles and Mary Lamb, which was translated in Calcutta in 1852. And it's one of the earliest translations of Shakespeare's plays in Bengal and adapted for the young by Mary and Charles Lamb. So our project team consists of a senior responsible officer in the British Library, who's Catherine Eagleton, and she is the head of African and Asian collections. And then we have a principal investigator, Nur Sobers Khan, who's the head of the South Asia collection, South Asian Indian collections. And then there's 3 co-investigators who spend 10% of their time on the project. Nora McGregor, who's in the British Library Digital Humanities team, Padmini Ray Murray, who's an expert in digital humanities from Srishti Institute of Art, Design and Technology in Bangalore, and Abhijit Gupta, who's a book historian and professor of English and joint director of the school at Jadavpur University in Kolkata. We also have a postdoc researcher there. The full-time project team consists of me as project manager. I started in April. Project curator and the digital curator, Laili Udin and Tom Derrick, who started in June. A part-time Bengali cataloger, who we're going to share with our colleagues in SOAS, Priyanka Basu, 2 project support officers who have started in November, and 1.5 posts of a conservator, and they start in January. So the partnership is between the library at SOAS as well, and we work closely with Fazana Whitfield, who's a subject librarian for South Asia and Development Studies. And we also do skills sharing work with the Ministry of Culture in India, and partnership working with the National Library of India, the National Mission on Libraries and other institutions in India. All of these collections are also part of Marina Chelani, so she's a curator for North Indian collections, and she's the owner of these collections that we're digitising. So a little bit more about the digitising and cataloguing. So many of the books are in a fragile condition, so before any digitisation can take place, we work closely with the colleagues in conservation care, and they look at the sort of condition of the books, and there are some that are put back for repair and some that can go through to digitisation. The image that you can see here is an interesting book that was published in 1854 in Calcutta, and it's directions for a railway traveller, and it contains information on the rules and etiquettes of travelling for the steam train traveller, and you can see the pull-out timetable for different stations and fares for different classes, and that's a really interesting book because it would have been when railways first started in India. Yeah. Oh, sorry. British Library in St Pancras and Boston Spa, and they have a range of scanning equipment and trained operatives. And we hopefully will do the 1,000 first tranche of books by spring 2017. They are scanned in colour TIFFs at 400 dpi, and they are made into JPEG 2000s to be able to put onto our universal viewer. Then we have project support officers who go through and quality assure a lot of the pages, and they make sure that there's correct layout issues, rotate images, or reshoot if there's problems with the images. And then they get ready to be ingested into the catalogue. So what happens is the digital files are then packaged into different file formats, and that together with the metadata is linked together, and they are linked on our library web space. So hopefully it will be there in April 2018, and then they can be displayed on the viewer. This is a mock-up of what the web space would look like, so hopefully we'll have this sort of up and running by spring. The books will be complemented by features written by our project curator and digital curator, including authors and articles written by leading academics in the field of South Asia studies. We know our audience will also include members of the public, so we want to engage them, and we'll put up topical lectures and seminars that we're currently holding at the British Library. We've also started up a project page, so that's available now for you to have a look at, with lots of other interesting information on it. We're hoping that our browsing in this web space will be able to show you, and it will be thematically arranged, so we're hoping the themes could be food, religion, law, and users will be able to refine the material by author and date. And then finally, we're going to try and get them onto the Universal Viewer, which is a page turner a viewer that you can look at all the books, and that's being updated at the moment. So we're waiting to find out how to do the file naming for that. Part of this project also has digital and research support. So the digital curator that we've got is investigating the digital humanities landscape in South Asia. So what projects are currently out there, what we can learn from them that can offer to help our web space. We're also engaging with the academic community to create networks around this project so the resource can be used in a meaningful way to further research. He's also looking at how we can create data sets of the material through the digitisation, make them freely available through our BL Labs site, and then also looking at OCR, optical character recognition. And then also our researcher is working with experts in fields of book history and digital humanities and our partners in India to make the collection more contextualised. So we've got some challenges with OCR and also some opportunities. So OCR, optical character recognition, will enable search and research at a scale across many items, but there's big challenges. This picture that you can see is one of the quarterly lists, but it's in a table, and in order to make that searchable, we need to work with an XML Alto file to make sure that you can find things through the collection. And then also another challenge is finding efficient OCR solution for Bengali. We haven't got it there yet, but we're trying to work with Google and other partners. The other thing the digital curator is doing is working with our web teams at the British Library to add non-standard British Library capabilities to the web space. So one of the ideas is to look at where all the printing presses started, a little bit like this website, so we can track how the printing presses started and how the books were published. So that's one of the other things that the digital curator will be looking at. Some of the other things we've been doing is to do some community engagements. We've got a very large Bangladeshi community around the British Library in King's Cross, and we've got them in to do show and tells with the Somerstown residents. We've showed them our treasures, and with the community engagement people. We also have a Twitter account, which you can see a picture of there. We blog on our project page and on the wider Asian African blog. And we've also been running a seminar inviting academics working in the British Library in November to tell us about their research. And these seminars we call the South Asia series, and last month we had talks on material around music, performance and women in the South Asia collections in the British Library, a look at the history of culinary, world of Mughal elite, and the high and low of the fast and colonial Bengal. They were very well attended, and more are planned next year. And we're hoping to put the podcasts up on our project page as soon as possible. The digital curator and project curator are currently in India, and the digital curator is hosting the first of 3 skills sharing workshops to foster digital literacy and skills sharing in Indian institutions. The first is being held at Jadavpur University in December, where library and information professionals from cultural heritage institutions will take part in a one-day event to learn more about how information technology is transforming humanities research today. 2 more workshops are arranged for 2017 and 2018 around digital workflows and cultural heritage preservation. And there's also our project curator who's organising an academic symposium in the summer, and there'll be more information about that on our project page. So that's just an overview of our collections and our project. Yes, and I have got a little film that we have. I'll see if I can play it for you, but it's a fundraising film, if we've got time. So this was made just to fundraise for the wider project that we're hoping.
What the British Library holds in terms of its collections is the world's cultural heritage. And what we're hoping to do in this project is to make it freely available so it can be accessed by anyone, anywhere in the world. We've actually started scanning our early printed Bengali collections. Before they can be scanned, obviously, they undergo a conservation assessment. Whatever is fit to be digitized goes to be digitized. Whatever isn't fit to be digitized is conserved and then digitized at a later date.
This is a vast body of material, part of which has never been seen before by any researchers, which we are looking to put online. And that once that is put together, once that is out there, it would constitute easily one of the biggest database of South Asian printed materials anywhere in the world, and would fundamentally alter the landscape of research.
What it does do is give us a really great idea of the kind of material that was being written, which was very extensive, anything from kind of geography, history, erotica. So it kind of sheds a new light on what we know of cultural production in the time.
Essentially, you're building an architectural tool into which you could feed in other South Asian languages as well.
So we'd like this project to be kind of the benchmark for similar kinds of projects in the future.
The time and the compulsion behind carrying out such a project could not have been more urgent, and it is therefore very important for anyone who cares about culture and reading in South Asian languages to really come to the aid of this project. This is an absolute crying need for this material to be digitized and put online.